I've not made a video for ages. And then all of a sudden there's loads to talk about, and by the time I actually want to make a video, there's so much to talk about, it's all jumbled up inside my noggin. So I'm going to talk about things once. I'm just going to go in order and we'll see what happens. The Transformers YouTube community. Yes, there's that word, Matthew. I'll talk about that in a moment. We had an incident. It wasn't an accident, it was just definitely an incident a little while ago, where me, Brad and Stu talk a lot. And whenever I bring up my Facebook window of people that I've spoken to and stuff to talk about, it's always near the top that there's a permanent conversation that's been running for a good 12 months, longer than that now, where me, Brad and Stu just chew the shit for no reason at all in the evening to just laugh. And then sometimes me and Brad will talk about stuff, or me and Stu will talk. Stu made me laugh the other day because me and Brad were talking about proper real life grown up shit and about feelings and things like that. And we kind of forget that we're in the open forum thing with Stu as well. So two of us will get, and then Stu comes along later and he just puts, I love you guys. Because it's just, we talk, it's good. And there's no boundaries. We can talk about borderline anything. And we listen. And we really get on. And I really enjoy it. It's like one of my best things in life. It's great. But recently on the Facebook page, someone came along that had, and controversially I'm going to say it, they had the American way of doing things, which is to find a place where everyone's having a really good time and just go and poke at the people that are having a really good time with really inflammatory comments. And then when people don't agree, they vehemently argue their point, which no one else agrees with, because it's their point and because it seems to be the way that you do things on a lot of other forums. It's just to argue and shout, and whenever you shout the loudest, that seems to be the way that you would win the conversation. Firstly, if it's a conversation, there is no winners. You can't win or lose in a conversation, because then it's an argument. And we don't do arguments at the Transformers YouTube community. We like to put up pictures of robots and talk about them, and everyone goes, oh, that's nice. Our Natalie, there's a good example. Our Natalie put up a picture of her, is it Overclocker? The Blur repaint? Not repaint, the Blur toy. The third party Blur toy. And loads of people were like, oh, I really like that. I think that thing looks horrible. It's too busy, it's too complicated. It takes something that should be nice, clean lines, and it has 1,000 lines on there because it has to move 1,000 different ways to turn from one thing into the other. Now, that's good. I like that. In certain toys, I love that. That's brilliant. But I did put, I don't like it. And that was fine. That's fine. I could not like something that Natalie loves. And Natalie sat there, all in a blur, off of Six Shot Changer's channel. They kind of share their channel. That's great. It's a good idea. I quite like that. Two people sharing a channel. You get very much you get different sides of coins and stuff like that. Anyway, Natalie didn't get on her high horse, and she didn't fight her right to like the toy, and she didn't try and convince me into liking the toy. The whole point was, I don't like it and you do, and that's great because that encourages the diversity, which makes what we do brilliant. However, this person came along, and not only did they argue their point to the absolute death, but they were rude, and they were adversarial, and they were aggressive. And there has been conversations about, shall we make rules for the page? Do we want a rule book? And I kind of really don't want a rule book. There are too many rule books in the world. Everyone has to follow a plan, a line, a path that other people set, and you have to sort of stroll within it. And if you go outside the lines, you become ostracised or told off. And I don't want that, because you never know. What was that I read the other day? You never know what you don't know until you realise that you don't know it. And one day someone will come up with an amazing plan for doing an amazing thing. And if we strictly adhere to the guidelines of what we are and what we do and walk down a very narrow path, that idea may never come to the fore. And that would mean we would all miss out. We couldn't do that thing. We have to be open for other people to say, well, I don't like that. What if we do this? Or just come up with ideas, or say they don't like something, because if something's not working, then fair enough. Then maybe you would change what you do, just an aspect of what you do to make it more publicly acceptable. You may enjoy being publicly unacceptable. You may enjoy making people think, shocking people into thinking in a different way. So I don't want to do rules. I do want to briefly say this. If people go on there and tell you that you are being a dick, you're probably being a dick. That's the only rule I want to stick to. If someone actually pipes up, it takes a lot of courage to say no. I used to do sales. I used to be a salesman. I hate myself for it. I hated myself while I was doing it. It was a horrible thing to do, and it started out fun and it ended up badly. But if someone has the courage to actually say to you, not only do I not agree with you, but I feel that your behaviour is poor and the way that you're speaking to these people is inappropriate, and I really, really think that you should take a long, hard look at what you've said, how you've said it, and not necessarily apologise, but maybe just wind your fucking neck in a little bit. I'm going to leave that as the best barometer for how we're going to view and moderate our little corner of the internet. Because I tell the kids at hockey all the time, although I'm a coach, it's not about me coaching, it's about you coaching each other. And if there's something that you can do, then do it to the best of your ability, and then teach other people to do it too, because you can't have, on this occasion, 3 people leading the way all the time. You've got Waspo that's doing ideas, you've got Nick that's doing his photo competition, and we've all got lives and we're all busy. But if we all take a tiny bit of ownership of something that we do or we enjoy, and then lead that and, you know, feed that and progress that into something bigger and better, then everybody wins from it. So I'm not doing a Transformers YouTube community rulebook. I'm just going to leave it down to the people. If you're a cock, stop it. And that's all I'm going to say. For ages. Obviously, I've just gone on for quite a while, which was going to be my first and quick point that I was going to gloss over, but it is one of the more important ones. Secondly, I'd like to point out that I've not really done any videos in ages, and I'm really enjoying playing with my toys, but I've not played with them quite so much lately because I've been doing something that I've never been very good at before, and recently there's been a wonderful opportunity to be more than I ever used to be, which was I've been spending time with people. Real life, there's people coming downstairs. And I'm in the kitchen in a public place. People. I've been spending time with people. I've watched so much American trashy TV. I've sat up late. I've drunk loads of tea. I've stayed off the sauce, which has been brilliant. I've stayed off the booze. I've not been losing much weight, but my body shape has changed hugely. I'm very pleased with that. I don't really look like I've got a belly in my shirt anymore, which I'm very, very pleased about. I can't get rid of the chin. 40 years old, gravity's starting to attack me now. I'm just going to pass it off. I have got very sexy hair at the moment. I've just got out of the shower. It doesn't look sexy right now. Trust me. I'm really enjoying making an effort. It's good. I've not bought anything for ages. I'm not losing attention. I'm not losing enthusiasm. I've not got any money to spend on them because in the not too far distant future, there's going to be change. A huge amount of very, very large, very profound, very important change. So I'm sort of not blowing all the budget on plastic crack at the moment. I also had to buy a pair of skates, which cost me 260 quid in the end. I ordered some from Germany. They're beautiful. I love them. They're bright white. Everyone took the piss. We played a game on Wednesday and the first thing my whole beloved team did is come up to me, all my really good friends, and scratch their sticks and skates up and down my brand new white boots to scuffle them up. I hate you, but I love you at the same time. It was hilarious. And it's just, I would definitely do it to you, so you're more than welcome to do it to me. I posed Matthew, Timey Too Whiny, Time Lord, a question, because he's doing his thing. He's doing his questions thing. I wonder where that started from. He's doing a questions thing. I kind of got bored of the questions thing, because if I'm going to be rude, and if you're offended by this, then chances are it just means you're one of the people that does it. I want proper questions. I want questions that make me think. I want questions that I can think about during the day while I'm at work, and just, I talk to myself in my head an awful lot. I just chew the cud and go over things in my head an awful lot. And when all you get is, what's your favourite colour? Is it black and white? Or if you could be attacked by a squadron of horse-sized ducks or a duck-sized horse. That's shit. Be creative, you fucking fucktards. And it's just, I see people doing question and answers where people really ask questions about the world. And I've had some really good ones, but I've had an awful lot of crap as well. It's just, I've got bored of it. However, I asked Matthew, roughly, what do you think of community now? And my thought, which I'll elaborate on, is the community. When the question of community came up about a year ago, maybe 18 months ago, even as far as 2 years, but the question of community did come up, and a lot of people said it is not a community. And Carl and Glenn, I don't think either of them really believe in the word community when it comes to the Transformers bubble. And they're right. In that, if you look up in the dictionary, community relies on location. It's a group of people that live in a location together and work with each other for the benefit of the community, i.e. all of the people that live, you know, within a radius, which means you have to work with each other as opposed to against each other to exist, to be. However, I feel that this explanation, the reason why community is what community is no longer valid or viable or appropriate, because the internet has taken something that was expensive, something that you had to really think about. Something, I mean, for how long have we had the ability to just pick up the phone and talk to each other? A very long time. But picking up the phone and talking to each other isn't particularly community-based, because at the time a phone is between you and the other person, and you can pass the phone around, or you can have someone in the background shouting, going, "Say hello for me," and stuff like that. But that doesn't mean the same thing. Community now is a place where, because of the internet, because pretty much everyone has got the internet, not just at home when you're on Wi-Fi, or when you even go as far as to plug into a landline or something like that. The reason the word community has changed is because we all have the Transformers community in our back pocket, on our desk, in our handbag. And you can answer someone's question immediately, whether you get in trouble for it at work, or whether it means that you end up stopping doing something that's productive to do something else that's community-based. But we can now actually just stop and reply to someone's question or response immediately. It's on our iPhones. It's on our phone that I'm recording on now. It's there. It's in front of you. And Matt was saying, why is community a dirty word? And all I propose is that you stop considering what other people... I think other people are afraid to go against the grain, because nobody really wants to stick out in the universe. The people that want to stand out from the crowd already know that they want to stand out for the crowd, and the reason that you know that is because they say things that challenge you. Damn you hussies. Always asking questions that challenge you. Who are you? What are you doing? Why are you here? And when you think you know the answer, he asks you another question. You asked because he's doing other things now, but he still asked you another question that challenged what you thought you were doing and made you reevaluate what you were doing and how you were doing it. I think community is about a whole load of people pulling in the same direction to achieve the same goal. Even if that's just as simple as everybody getting along on a stupid Facebook page that never stops. There something new gets posted in our corner of the internet. Every half hour, at least. Every half hour there's something new going in there. And there's like 780 odd people now. I was talking to Dave Shotton the other day. Probably the biggest friend that I've ever had that I've never actually met. Weird. Which I'll fix in October because he's coming to Roll Out Roll Call. Roll Out Roll Call, a place for all your transformative community needs. He said that he doesn't frequent the page quite so much anymore because all of the people that he used to see and wanted to see don't post as much as they used to because lots of other people do post. And obviously as a moderator of the page and wanting it to be successful, to me that's music to my ears, and I know it means that Dave isn't using it as much, but also Dave's busy, he's doing stuff, he's got the wedding coming up, he's had work things to consider, he's had real life to consider, and a bit like me at the moment because I've got some quite tortuous real life coming up in the not too far distant future, and he's been dragged away from it, but then he comes back and he talks and he still messages me on WhatsApp all the time about new toys and the fact that he got Marlboro, the wheeljack repaint with all of the cigarette logos on and stuff like that, and he liked it, but he questioned me, why have I bothered buying this? And I think he did it on the Facebook page as well. And that question, why have I done this? Why do I like it? Why is it good? Why have I spent all of this money on exactly the same toy that I've already got, but with a red deco instead of a red and green deco and a different head? I don't think he gives a shit because he just wants it. He can afford it, he wants it, he knows it's lovely. It's definitely something that isn't going to be a popular's the wrong word, a well-versed toy in the future, because no one's bloody got one. There's so few of them because of all the politics that went with it. Got sidetracked. It's still going really well. I will do some Transformer reviews soon. I've got it in my head that I want to do a Transformer review a week, and I want to try and pick a day, probably Thursdays, because Thursday is the day when I really am not doing anything, and Friday has become quite a social time of late. So I'm going to try and do Thursday night videos, but I'm going to edit them, and I'm going to try and do some stuff that's a little bit more imaginative, fingers crossed. Though I do still love to just turn the camera on and waffle. My name has been SMS number 1. I love this house. There's people around all the time, and on Saturday mornings I love to get up early because that's the view that I get to see from my back garden. That's the view that I wake up to. And I sit at that table and I look over that field and I eat my toast and drink my tea. I'm going to turn you off now. TTFN